Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast is here. And, of course, it is Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Today, let's self-scout a little bit. Mini-bye. You know, the mini-bye gives you a chance to take a couple days off, look over everything. And we just heard from Kevin Batula. He says, we do need to run the ball more. Can they run the ball more? Can they find a way to run the ball more? Let's self-scout the Eagles first on the offensive side of the ball with Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, who's here on Football at 4 Tuesday. What's going on, Adam?
Michael, yeah, look, this is a big deal. A little bit bigger than I think most fans understand, and this comes at the right time. This mini-bye, yes, the Eagles got handled, both sides of the football, and special teams, too, against the Giants, but you just are good usually at understanding what they could do with the extra time when you could just be in the office on Sunday, which you have to do during a mini-bye, before the players come back Monday for the meeting. So, yeah, Mike, we'll start with the running game. And, look, it's been pitiful. We all know that. In fact, on tomorrow's Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell, we break down, you'll be surprised, those two great Saquon Barkley runs. One of them was his season high of 18 yards. It's not quite what you thought. Like, watching it at home, I thought it was one thing, but the blocking was another. Look, we're all pretty convinced that this offensive line's beat up physically, starting left to right. Now, it doesn't have an injury listed, but it's not nearly at the level that we've seen in the past. We don't know what the issue is, Mike. Left guard, we know what Landon Dickerson is. We know that. That's all physically. With his situation, he's beat up physically. Now, latest is a left ankle injury. Cam Jurgens, we know, is not the same coming back from his back surgery. Cam Jurgens, in our reporting when he was drafted, there were concerns about lower body injuries coming out of Nebraska. So this is something we've got to continue to watch with him. Right guard, Tyler Steen, is Greg Cosell will tell people tomorrow. He's up and down so far. And Lane Johnson's not quite himself, and you'll see it. You hear us talk about Lane's not quite his usual elite self. He's still very good, but he's not elite. So I don't know, Mike. Yes, they're going to search for what they can do, but the fact that they rarely run any outs, not just outside zone. I'm talking about a toss left or a toss right. That is bizarre to me, Mike. That tells you physically that they clearly are not themselves.
Yeah, so if that's the case, you got to find a way to run block better. If you just don't have the personnel to do it, I would imagine that running the football as effectively as they had, listen, they ran the ball effectively last year. They ran the ball not as effectively with DeAndre Swift, but still pretty good. And with Miles Sanders, they ran the ball pretty effectively. So they've done it without Saquon Barkley. Now they have Saquon Barkley. It's not as simple as just changing the running back. You've got to be able to block, and they can't do it right now.
Look, that's a good point because we forget Miles Sanders. It's funny. People criticize Sanders after he was terrible with the Panthers when they cut him, and he's out for the season now with the Cowboys on injured reserve. He's got 2 injuries from coming back this season. So, he's never the same since he left Philly. Now, he was also very good running it. He ran harder. He ran well. But he was also a product of the great offensive line play. So, Mike, their offensive line has been near elite for several years. You're talking about at a minimum of a top 5 line going back 6 or 7 years. So we're not used to seeing this. They're a middling offensive line right now. That's the truth because it's tape-based. This isn't really, as Greg Cosell would say, it's not an opinion. It's really what the tape shows. It's unfortunate. Now, how could they help alleviate this situation? They're not benching anyone. There's no one to go to. That's it. Fans are funny. Like they want Dickerson to sit for a while. For what? Okay, so we know that Brett Toth is not the answer. Can we all agree on that? That it's not going to work with Brett Toth. Matt Pryor cannot really play left guard. They tried it late in training camp and preseason. Not real comfortable with it. It's a last resort thing if they feel like they need to, but there are other things you can do. You could be much more of a 12 personnel team. Cam Latu has been more of a fullback than a tight end so far, but they need to keep him in line as a wide tight end. That is a inline tight end, not a fullback. That's you're right next to the left or right tackle. They need to do that. That's one way. And get Calcaterra, Mike, out of playing the wide position or even when he plays the F, get him to attach more. He can't block. That's not his thing no matter how hard he tries.
Yeah, they're having big problems, obviously, a lot of things you just pointed out, but is there any other way that they can help maybe, use an extension of the run game a little bit?
You know what? The other thing is, and we got asked this today, and let me just address this for a YouTube commenter, and, I forgot about this. We forgot to address this. Jeff and I did a self-scout on Monday, but I'm giving you even more on today's show, Mike. We didn't talk about the screen game. When they've done it, it's actually been decent. I don't know what's happened since Doug Peterson's left, Mike. It's been sort of like the forgotten part of offense. Now, I know we used to joke they're a terrible screen team. They weren't last year. They weren't terrible. And the little they've done it's been okay. You could do wide receiver screens. I don't know why they're not. You could do a running back screen, obviously. Now that Will Shipley is healthy, that's something that we saw in training camp with him. So that, on your point, the extension of the run game, that's extension of the pass game. It is the screen game. And we're not talking about checkdowns. We're talking about design pass plays to the running backs. You could do a tight end tunnel screen to Goddard, which the Rams are. You watch Tyler Higbee. He's phenomenal at it. You could, or the hide screen. You could do those. I don't know why they're not doing that. That's another thing on their self-scout, which, by the way, the full self-scout will come in week 9 when they're on their bye after these next 2 games. But the screen game, bring it back.
Yeah, especially because they have some personnel to do it. You mentioned Shipley, get him a little bit more involved. Saquon's not the best pass catcher, but still get him the ball in some space, let him get out into the open field, make people miss, and find ways to utilize Saquon a little bit more there. And obviously, they've got to find the way to run the ball a little bit better because that was really their hallmark last year. That's been their staple, and it's been their staple really in the Sirianni era, really since week 8 of 2021. When Jeff McClain asked the question yesterday about changing the play caller, he asked that question because that's when they did change the play caller in 2021, was at the mini-bye there. They had a Thursday night game. They went from Sirianni to Steichen.
Well, they weren't 4-2 then, though. That's the point. They didn't have a winning record.
That is true.
Look, Mike, understand something. Nick didn't call. He was not comfortable calling plays, okay? That was, to his credit, it was his ideas. I was told, and I asked, and I was told it was his idea. I know Shane Steichen. I know Jonathan Gannon had some, he backed him up when Nick ran it by some of his coaches, whether it was a good idea or not. But it was Nick's idea, and it was a great idea, by the way. Let's face it, Mike. If Shane Steichen did not call the plays at 22, they were not winning the Super Bowl. Why do I feel that way? Because he understood what they need to do with Hurts and scale things back and help him. And let me add this before we move to defense. Where is Hurts in the run game? He's down on average carries per game a little bit over last year. It doesn't look good with him running the football. I know their line isn't blocked well, but he needs to become a meaningful part of the running game again. That's also a missing element of the running game.
No doubt about that. His carries are down 3 straight seasons now. Let's go to the defense where, this is a defense that was keeping them in games, and we're really saying, hey, they don't have to be creative or aggressive on offense because they trust their defense so much. Well, it seems like they don't trust their defense as much anymore because they got problems over there.
Well, Mike, obviously they're beat up physically with Jalen Carter. The shoulder injury, I know he's not on the injury report, but it's an issue. We got to watch that. It's a recurring problem going back to Georgia, we're told. And then, he's got this mysterious heel injury, which prevented him from playing last week. Now, what we didn't know was going to happen, we knew he would play on defense, but Ty Robinson saw a lot of snaps, 28% of the defensive snaps, 19. The tape looked actually pretty good, explosive, physical. Ty Robinson, the 4th rounder, who was very raw to come into training camp and in training camp. Let's get him on the field more. Let's get him over Byron Young in some situations when Carter gets back. That's one thing I like to see on the front. Now, with Darius Smith's sudden retirement, which came out of nowhere, Eagles were definitely not expecting that. Now, if you notice, Mike, not only did he not start last week against the Giants, Ojulari started over him and played more snaps, significantly more snaps. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But they're down to 4 edge rushers. This is Mike. This is they're paper thin at edge, and they got problems there. They're going to have to figure this out how they're going to get more of a pass rush.
Yep, a lot of people wondering if Howie Roseman will do something there. They did bring in Zadarius Smith. Now he's gone. Does he now have to replace Zadarius Smith? We'll keep an eye on that. Yep. Jeff insinuated, came out and said maybe Cooper DeJean might have to move to the outside. What could they do for that outside corner spot and the cornerback position?
Yeah, so we talked about this on our shows over the summer. Like, we had heard that their sort of escape hatch, I don't know what else to call it, if they had to, would put DeJean at corner and then either Makuba or Mac McWilliams at nickel. Because I know DeJean's playing in their base defense. They don't play a lot of base defense. He's at corner there. But, Mike, it is – I got to be honest with you, and I'd be surprised if Quinyon Mitchell is able to start this week. If he can play, Mike, I joked on Monday that Justin Jefferson would have 150 to 200 yards against the Eagles. I'm telling you, because
they've done a good job on him, too, in the past.
Well, guess what? They don't have Darius Slay anymore.
That's true.
You would have to zone it off, pray that I don't know what you could do. I mean, Mac McWilliams, he's on my list, too. What do you have to lose by getting him snaps? I mean, Keely Ringo, who Fangio confirmed today when asked, is not the starter anymore. No, I mean, how could you? We talked about this lower body stiffness. We've told. The Ringo truthers are now falsers. They finally accepted the guy's in the fourth corner, which we've told people for 3 years. It's a shame. He's a great special teams player. He was overdrafted by the Eagles. There's nowhere else they have to go, Mike, other than to putting DeJean at corner. Vic's got to just accept it. What does he have to lose by putting full-time at corner now till how he makes a trade? Where signs like a Kendall Fuller or somebody's out there. Look, the trade deadline, they've got 3 weeks, okay? We know how he's going to be involved. It's not a secret. He's going to try to acquire help on defense, edge rusher, corner, or both. We'll see. By the way, there are a lot of teams looking for corners and edge rushers. Good luck. But he's got to do it. He's got to do his best. You know how he's super aggressive. Why is he the best general manager? Because he covers up issues with trades or signings. So he did it in 2017 with Jay Ajayi, which we didn't really know that was going to be an issue, running back, but good for him to do it. And you got 3 weeks to figure this out, Mike. The thing is, I'm not a panicker like fans are. They know it inside their personnel department that they're going to have to get aggressive because they'll never win a Super Bowl with the roster as is. No chance. Will never happen.
Crazy to think you were on top of the world, 4-0 start, and now here we are talking about how to fix some of the things. What about special teams? This new kickoff has been a big-time factor for teams. You got kickoffs that have been mishandled, fumbled, botched, and, of course, what's going on with the special teams? How can they fix that?
All right, well, thank goodness for the Eagles. They've got a great punter and kicker. Both should be in the running for Pro Bowl consideration. They better be. We're all pro. But what I don't understand is on punt return specifically, Britton Covey's here to they brought him back to be a punt returner potentially. Jahan Dotson is average at best as a punt returner. He also fair catches a lot. Britton Covey, for being a little guy, is super aggressive. What do they have to lose? This is another thing. What are they waiting for? He's healthy. He got cleared off the neck problem. It took him a while to get cleared, but he's cleared. I don't get that. Now, for the people asking about Britton Covey on kickoff returns, just understand. Let me kind of explain this as explained to me. So once we went to this dual returners, teams see the dual returners as almost running backs by the way that the ball is received on kickoffs. They want bigger, physical running backs. Most of them are not punt returners. It's not completely out of the question that Covey could do it, but you really don't want to do it because he's like, we call him the human pinball machine. He's just, you really want him returning punts, not kicks. So they've got to, you're right, Mike, they've got to fix this thing. This is awful. It's a shame because the special teams is elite, the punter and kicker, but the returns are terrible. And Tank Bigsby, look, it's been a struggle bus since he's been here. And, they corrected that bad issue, at least seemingly, that with teams scribbing it to them, that they're a little better, but it's bad, man. I mean, it looked like their special teams would be great this season, but nope. So, Mike, if you sum it up why they're 4-2, not that 4-2 in today's NFL is bad, because quite frankly, Mike, the league is very mediocre this year, so the Eagles are going to be a playoff team. But to make a deep playoff run, they're going to have to have roster adjustments. Coaches got to be better. execution, the players have to play better. They got a long way here. I'm not trying to like criticize the team. I'm just telling you the truth. This is what NFL people think. This is what the people we speak to think. Greg Cosell thinks. Listen to Derek Gunn and Ray Didinger do our new show this year, Eagles Weekly, that we love. So yeah, I mean, we break it down for you. We've given you all the answers to the test. Now it's up to the club to get this stuff cleaned up.
What are some of the things the front office can do in the self-scouting department during this week?
I mean, other than what I mentioned, Mike, about receiver and edge, I don't know. I mentioned this on our show Monday. I don't understand this. The Eagles historically, under Harry Roseman, are a bottom 10 workout players in season. I don't know why they don't work out. Like Bill Belichick, I used to chart this stuff. They could have the best team in the NFL. He didn't care. He worked out every position, even long snapper, because God forbid something happens and you haven't worked players out on your emergency list. Like every club has an emergency list, but you like to have worked them out so you know what they look like, what kind of shape they're in. And by the way, when you bring a player in for a tryout, they get a physical, and also when they just come in for a visit, they can get a physical. So I don't know why that they're not working players out. That's got to be on Howie's to-do list. They worked out Drake Jackson, the former second-round edge rusher from the Niners. I believe is going to sign with Washington, but they got to do that, Mike. That's got to be on Howie's to-do list. That to me is something I just don't understand why I don't do more of that.
Well, last night the Commanders lost, so the Eagles do stay in first place in the division because now, of course, the speculation is there hasn't been a back-to-back NFC East winner, and it's starting to feel like there's a reason why these teams have a hard time bouncing back the very next year. But the Eagles at 4-2 are in first place in the NFC East, and, of course, we have them covered right here. Getting ready. Probably Carson Wentz, you think there, Adam?
I think there's a realistic chance, yes. Blake Cashman is going to play. I believe their middle linebacker had been hurt. Is really good. Wentz, Greg Cosell said the tape was phenomenal. Carson against Cleveland. Now against Pittsburgh, I talked to the Steelers about that game. They thought Wentz, though he played relatively well, brought the team back, forced a couple throws. His timing wasn't great in that game, but they also had a number of drops. But he was phenomenal against that really good Browns defense. It's funny, the last time when he was with Washington, he was terrible against the Eagles, but, Mike, he looks really healthy, Wentz does, so we'll see what happens.
Well, all right, we'll keep our eye on Wentz. J.J. McCarthy, who's the starter there? You can listen to that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. That's today's Football at 4. He's Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Adam, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.